Well, hello, Mr. Martin. How are you, sir?
Mr. Martin, how are you? Missed the last couple of nights. Glad you're back. And before we
start, on assignment. I was on assignment.
I know. You're always on assignment. Usually at the bar, so it means you're in the bar when you do that. So.
That's what it means all the time. Yes. Okay. And hello to you and all the good stuff, Father. How are you?
I'm okay. I want to get a quick word before we start. A happy birthday out to Tyler Ford, my buddy up in Mariana, and R.I.P. my former college roommate Pat Talley passed away today. So Pat's a good man and going to miss him. So get those in there before we start.
I didn't know that. That's terrible. Thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Mm-hmm. Good evening, Tommy Seal, who's just checked in on the show. Hey, we got a power pack show tonight, so we're not going to waste around. But first things we're going to tell you is that you're watching the Buddy Martin Show, and it is on YouTube. And you got to make sure you smash the subscribe button. Subscribe. It helps us out. It makes us money. It does things for us. It's
money. We get paid. Wow.
Money. Yeah. Down on the right-hand corner over there. It's over there. You'll see it. It says YouTube. Smash it. Subscribe and enjoy. Hello, Ron Falciano. How are you? Welcome to the show. We've got Edgar Thompson waiting in the orange and blue room. He's going to be here to light it up. We're going to talk to Allie Peak Wilbur tonight. We're going to talk to David Molton tonight. We're going to talk to Buddy Martin tonight. What else, buddy? Who else?
How about the open of the show? How about that?
All right. Well, and dilly to all the people checking in. We'll be right back after this, and this.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Well, dilly to all you folks, and we'll bring on our friend Edgar Thompson. Hello, Edgar Thompson from the Orlando
Maybe
Sentinel.
You got an off week. Sir? Maybe everybody else, but not Edgar. Edgar's always working, even when he's out of town. Edgar, how you doing, man?
Oh, Edgar, your mic is muted.
Okay, I'm with you now. I couldn't tell what I was fucking.
There you go.
It's not like a Zoom call. So no, I'm just home visiting family. I had dinner with my sister and my mother.
Nice.
And so I have a few minutes for you fellas to talk.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Is that what we do? We're going to talk about Gators? Is that what the show's about?
I guess. Okay. Well,
whatever
you want to talk about, man.
Pickleball.
No, not that. Golf, maybe.
No golf. We're not talking golf. Buddy, you say golf, he starts talking at all that.
Yeah, it does. Edgar, you're I know you heard the press conference today. Teleconference. It's not the regular press
the teleconference.
Yeah, and I didn't hear it, but I got the copy you sent me. I thought as I was reading it's not terribly interesting to the general public, but it's how Billy processes things. He kind of goes through the whole thing his week while he's doing it. What did you get out of that thing? If I know you got a story, you always do, but he's obviously going to work. Big game next week, the big game of the year, and he's feeling pretty good about his team, and he still has a little afterglow following the South Carolina win.
That's funny. I used that word right in the beginning of my story.
Boom! There you go.
On Sunday, my Sunday story. I didn't write off today, buddy. what his process is his process, but
Mhm.
I didn't think he said much of anything
He didn't. You're right.
today. He is playing it close to the vest.
Mhm.
I definitely feel like he's certainly feeling better about his team after that
Mhm.
game, but he wouldn't even address Georgia. It's like, what do you think of Brock Bowers not being there? I mean, the guy caught
Mhm.
150 plus for 73-yard touchdown, 5 balls last year.
Mhm.
He goes, we'll talk about Georgia on Monday. And it's,
Mhm.
I hope they're preparing for Georgia before Monday.
Well, of course they are, but you know
I
what
know
he's
they
doing?
are, but
He's
he
trying not
really,
to play the game too early, you know?
well, if you read it, he said that we'll turn our attention to Georgia on Sunday, which
Yeah.
I find that very hard to believe. But
Yeah. You know,
it doesn't,
remember, yeah.
it
Excuse me,
doesn't matter. He'd better be paying attention to Georgia before Sunday.
Oh, he is. Don't worry. You know, one of the things I remember, Brendan, you might remember this, when Florida went to the Fiesta Bowl to play Ohio State. One of the things that Urban said, and he called some of his buddies, Lou Holtz being one, don't play that game before you get there. So what Urban did was over the next 3 weeks, he segmented each day to certain things, like there were steps, and never got to the actual game itself till the final few days. I think it's a little bit of what Billy's doing now, Edgar. So he's not going to play the game just yet, right?
I get it. I mean, not talking about Brock Bowers' injury. I mean, Kirby Smart talked about it, so it's not a state secret. But what I'll say, if we can reflect for a moment, is South Carolina, I believe, and I'm sure you guys have addressed this, but my take on that game, the best part of it was the offense showed this offense last year, showed it a few games, is able to maybe compete in a shootout-ish type game. Now, South Carolina is the last ranked defense against the pass in the nation, but he was able to like take advantage of that. And LSU's defense is not very good. Missouri's is not very good. And you're going to have to be able to score to beat Florida State. I don't know that Georgia is going to necessarily have to be a shootout. I don't know that that game's going to be that, but Arkansas, I don't know much about that team. But you did show against a vulnerable defense, you're able to throw the ball downfield and score some points.
On the road.
They had 16 passes of 20 yards or longer in 5 FBS games. They had 7 in this one game. And getting Eugene Wilson involved, I'm sure you've talked about him this week. The guy's acceleration is special. I mean, it's Percy Harvin-like, not quite that. I'm not going that far, but he can get going 0 to 60 fast. Boardingham's involvement. You know, Pearsall is continuing to assert himself.
Amazing.
Graham Mertz. I think that it's coming together. So we'll see. Better, at least. Don't know what that's going to mean, win or loss. They have 5 tough games coming.
Yeah. You know, Edgar, I wanted to hear your comments about, you know, the difference between this team in Utah and in this team in South Carolina. Obviously a little bit different, but coaching wise, have you seen much of a change in scheme versus what we saw that first day in that first game?
I'm not going to sit here and act like I can decipher all that, but you are getting, hey, look, they like running a lot of 12 personnel. Hayden Hanson's another guy I didn't mention. He's
Big
starting
guy.
to do something. That guy, a little more speed you'd like to see, but man, he has got some stature. And he was a high school quarterback. Boardingham was a high school receiver. I mean, that's not as big a transition, but it's still a transition. And they're taking guys and putting them in places. But in terms of, I just like some of the play designs the other day.
Yeah.
There were several that I was like, oh, okay. Like the Khalil Jackson play, was a really nice play, the way they got him open. They got Eugene on a couple where they just floated him out there. I don't know how South Carolina lost him that 30-yarder, but they did because they were doing some motions or whatever, and they bit, and he got loose in the flat, and 30 yards later. So they were doing some things that were getting guys open and free to make plays. But again, I'm trying to temper it a little because South Carolina's pass defense is terrible.
Yeah.
Well, that is true. Now, what I did like, though, were things that had nothing to do with the caliber of the opposition, coming out of the box, marching down the field, scoring quickly. Mm-hmm. Even the little ball handling things that Mertz did. not a play fake, but he would just do regular. As a quarterback, I always like to do fakes. You fake, you got a lot of motion going on. Who's going to get the ball? And you start faking handoffs, and it does hold the linebackers. It showed me Billy is calling a different kind of play now. They're not as easily to pick up, and I thought that had a factor. That was a factor, but the biggest thing we know was in the end, the guy who brought him home was the guy who had the balls. Let's just tell it like it is.
Whoa,
go out there and play like he did.
Family show, buddy. Family show.
And I might add, to play well and gritty and take a blow. I mean, take a hit. I thought he was courageous.
He's a gamer, man.
He is a gamer.
I'll say this, buddy. One of the things about Anthony Richardson that I thought that showed his inexperience and lack of feel at times. He did not handle the ball well. Like you're talking about ball handling.
Yes, right. Ball handling. Lost start.
There's great quarterbacks. I mean, Boomer was like the master of Esiason. My God, his play actions were so good. But
Peyton Manning was a great faker.
Oh, incredible.
Bernie Kosar.
The great quarterbacks, they handle that ball. They're like a point guard. And Mertz has some of that. You see some of those throws he'll make where he'll jump. It's not a jump pass, but he'll jump a little bit and throw it.
Little crow hop.
Yeah, he's got a little old school to him. I think Mertz, I was saying to Mike Bianchi on his radio show today, if there was a comeback player of the year in college football, and he's certainly in the conversation at this point.
Sure. And Brendan, in the limited time we have, if you've got that graphics I pulled off of ranking the quarterback power rankings of the quarterbacks nationally, here's the guy who wasn't ranked in the top 8 in the SEC a few weeks ago. Look where he's ranked now. Do you have that, Brendan?
No, I don't have that.
Oh, you don't have it. Okay,
no, I don't have it.
Okay.
I don't pay attention to it.
Well, I sent it to you anyway. So the bottom line is that he was ranked 7th nationally in power rankings, 7th and among quarterbacks. And you're talking about guys like Penix, all the great ones. And here's a guy who was so disrespected, he was called the worst quarterback in the SEC. Now, either the guys were wrong or he made a hell of a comeback, one of the two, Baker.
I mean, obviously, we misjudged Graham and Billy, too, to some degree in terms of applying what he can do well. Now, does that mean what we discussed, I believe it was last week, wasn't it? Where we were talking about what's going to happen in the offseason.
Right.
One of the things, and we'll see, look, the next 5 games are going to be very difficult. You got to think Arkansas at home's a win. Beyond that, I don't know where the wins come. I'm not saying there are not possibilities in there. I still think without Bowers, it's like someone said to me today, they're like Georgia's like a Hydra, though. You cut off 1, 5 come back. So Bowers is not just any one.
They're not 5 more Bowers, I can tell you that.
But forget Georgia. That would be a massive upset, 24 wins in a row, etc. But
I don't know. I talked to the HBC today, and we talked about his Clemson game at Duke, and he said, yep, you get them start playing, and magical things do happen. So he's not ruling it out. I mean, things can't
I don't
happen
rule
now.
It out either. No, I don't either. But that's.
I'm not calling. You're right. Obviously, they're not going to win that game. I get it.
Yeah.
Big ass. But let's see how it continues to unfold. But let's say, just for the sake of argument, guys, I'm curious you guys' opinion. Let's say they go to LSU, get in a shootout, and they somehow pull that game out. I mean, that'd be huge. But that defense is bad. And
real bad.
Arkansas.
Let's say Missouri struggling on defense as well, maybe a little bit better on defense, but not really. Shootout, you win it. And does Billy suddenly start shifting and going, maybe I'm figuring this out, or have we seen enough through the previous 19 games to say he needs help on offense? What's you guys take on that?
Well, I'll go first, buddy. I think that he has to bring somebody in because I've heard too many. I mean, reports that he has promised that he will bring somebody in to, those. I've heard specifically with DJ Lagway and his family that they're going to bring in somebody to be the offensive coordinator. next year, and that is already a done deal. So I feel that with that being said, and that being truthful, and I've heard Allie Peak Wilbur report on that, and some other people report on that, and I've heard that rumor as well. So I think he has to, because he's committed to it.
Yes, I've heard the same thing. I don't have it like locked down where I'm going to write that, but I've heard it.
Yeah.
So in the remaining 60 seconds that we have, because I got people backed up, and I told you I wouldn't keep you. I just want to say that there's all kind of possibilities. If Billy keeps a hot hand as a play caller, he could play it off and say, let's make Gonzalez the pass game coordinator or something like that on staff. They could easily do that, because look, like Shane said, they could lose all 5 games or win all 5 games. Okay, let's say they won 4 of them. Now you're going to start changing your play calling. I don't know. You got to think about that. So, Edgar, 30 seconds, wrap it up on what you think.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what's ahead for Florida and the prep for this game? And is there a possibility this team could play them toe to toe?
What, Georgia?
Yeah. Yes.
Georgia doesn't run the ball fantastically by any means. Carson Beck is. I'd take Graham Mertz over him right now.
Yeah,
the thing about Georgia, a few things just quickly. Georgia's allowed 6 sacks this year. So Florida's struggling to pressure the passer as is. That's going to be tough getting to him, rattling him. So that's not good. Secondly, they're second in the nation on third down, actually coincidentally behind Utah, even though Utah wasn't at full complement against Florida. It's a defense that's going to be very tough sledding against. You have 2 of the best defensive minds in the college game, if not the 2 best on that sideline, and Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp. I mean, obviously Saban, and there are a few others. But they're going to have a good game plan for them. They have been stacking classes there. It's a lot to ask. This program's still in the nascent stage of a rebuild, but it's a big win and a lot of confidence coming out of that game.
And
Great stuff from Edgar. I'll pump. You got to run, Brendan. We get backed up here. Don't forget, you can read him. Orlando Sentinel. You can see him all over the internet shows. Edgar, great stuff. Thanks for taking a minute on your time off to join us.
No, thanks, fellas. I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Edgar. Talk to you soon. Edgar. I was just trying to say, buddy, is that defensively, that's something we talked a lot about the offense, but defensively, Florida didn't look as good as they've looked in the last couple of games. So,
all right, we got the spot to do, and we got to get Allie Peak Wilbur up because David Molton is right around the corner.
So look, man.
Okay,
whatever you want to do, I'm here to click your buttons, man.
Let's do. Well, you want to get the guest on time or not? Just tell me, because David won't wait.
We've wasted 30 seconds at this point.
Yes,
so
we have.
Just
Titan MRI.
It's
worth a short drive to Gainesville. No insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or a card. Same-day scheduling available. Start feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Premier facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, the villages, and all over the place. That's TitanMRI.com. Do we have Allie in the house?
Yeah, I've got everything. So you going to tell them to set it up, or we're just going to go?
This is Allie Peak Wilbur. We talked to her again last night. Here's her thoughts about the Gators. Well, I know this is one happy person because she gets to be a Gator and a reporter and a blogger and all the things she does. Allie, of course, does a terrific job on her podcast every week, and we love having her back on the show every Wednesday night. And Allie, it's a good week to sort of breathe again and push back and say, okay, it's not so terrible to be a Gator fan, right?
I mean, 5-2 feels a whole lot better than I can imagine 4-3 would have felt.
Does it ever? And good things happen. I know you've had a chance to reflect on this, and you've had several programs about it. Aside from the obvious that we have a new hero in Graham Mertz here, what were the things that impressed you the most about that game against South Carolina? Some people say, well, South Carolina wasn't very good. It doesn't matter. It was a critical game for Florida to win, and the way they won it was, I thought, impressive. What was the thing that you have pointed out in your podcast that you really liked about this Gator win?
Well, so going into, let's take the last 9 minutes. Florida's down 11 points, and there's like 9 minutes and 11 seconds left in the game, something something like that. I don't know about you, but I definitely did not have a lot of confidence that Florida was going to be able to not only come up with 2 scoring drives, but then also stop South Carolina from scoring as well. And that's exactly what they did. And that's not something that we have seen Napier teams do at Florida until this moment. That's not something we've seen this offense do. They are, previous to this game, not really been built to either A, score a ton of points, or B, come from behind. And they did both of those things. So I think we kind of saw them grow up a little bit in front of our eyes. I think we saw Napier get a little bit more creative with his play calling, use some of his targets downfield a little bit more. And there was urgency. And I don't know, his Napier's demeanor on the sideline seemed a little bit different than it had in previous games. So I don't know if that was it. I don't know what it was, but this team came to South Carolina prepared to play. And we didn't feel like that when they showed up in Lexington. We didn't feel like that when they showed up in Salt Lake. So they did something different this week. And we saw a spark we hadn't previously seen. And I think too, in these games that we have won, a lot of the time we have praised the defense. The defense didn't play well, but the offense made up for that. And that's kind of when we talk about progress not being linear, right? So the defense had a bad day. And in the past, the defense having a bad day would have meant a loss for Florida. But the offense stepped up and they said, okay, like you guys aren't on your game today. We're going to cover for you. We're going to be on our game, which we've seen this defense do for this team earlier in the season. So it was kind of nice to see it reciprocated a little bit.
The true sense of complementary football that Billy talks about, there you saw it. I'm with you. I didn't think they were going to do it either. I was conditioned to think, well, they've blown this game again. Now,
Right.
there's no way they're going to score and hold them. And they did that. And it was such a refreshing thing to see. I mean, Mertz was, and Pearsall, they were fantastic, as we know. But that was what you call true leadership by Mertz. He took that game over and got it done. Yeah, they got a break, which, you have to have the deflection of the ball.
Better to be lucky than good, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but to have a fresh and that alert, be aware of the ball that was there. I mean, Trey was right there when that ball was deflected, alert and caught it. So there were lots of good things. I loved how they came out of the box. They were prepared. We've complained now for weeks. They were not ready to play against Utah and Kentucky. And so they were sleepwalking. They came out, they prepared, they marched down the field, got the touchdown. Yeah, they gave up a touchdown right away in South Carolina. But when they got behind, they knew what they had to do. They had a plan. You're right. Because Billy had a sense of urgency, the team seemed to have a sense of urgency, and they responded. So all that was good, and it's what I call a program-building win. No, it wasn't beating Alabama or it wasn't winning the SEC. The important win, more than likely Billy's most important win of his 21 games, which bodes well for the future of Florida football. Now, it's how far did they go from here, Allie?
Yeah. Well, I think, we'd say but it was South Carolina. And I understand that they're not very good this year, but I don't think it matters who the opponent was. Florida needed that for Florida. It wasn't about beating a not very good South Carolina team. It was about doing something they hadn't yet been able to do. And that was go on the road, play for 4 quarters, come from behind, score a bunch of points, run the 2-minute drill, all of those things that this team hadn't accomplished yet. And now they have. And, I don't think this win suddenly means we're going to, upset a bunch of people on the back half of the schedule. But I think it means there's a great chance this team goes to a bowl. You're going to talk about 14, 15 extra practices that you can get. You're talking about momentum going into the off season. And I think if you had told Gator fans in July that we'd be sitting at 5-2, I think everybody
take it right now. Yeah, take it. Yeah.
Right, and so am I saying that win means that now we're going to upset Georgia or we're going to go to
I'll try to see if I can figure it out.
No, but you know what? This team
is not connected.
This was a huge confidence builder, and I think for the fan base, it should be a
no.
Okay, maybe Billy doesn't know what he's doing. Let's go ahead and put this on pause and give him some more time.
Perfect. You're exactly right.
Tell me what you want me to
So
do.
where they go from here, I don't know, but they're confident. They got a trigger man.
It's off now.
They got leadership. They got players. The defense obviously has got to get better, but they did make stops when they had to. I feel better if they were getting to the quarterback a little better than what they are. But hey, it doesn't matter. They got the job done.
They did. And think about this. So we have played 11 true freshmen in all 6 games. 9 of those 11, though, are on defense. So this defense is truly transitioning from high school to college football right in front of our eyes. They are going to make mistakes. They are so young. But when it mattered, they got the stop.
All right. How are you with the defense? Who did you like? What do you see? The gap integrity is a big part of what we talk about with Shane and I a lot. He says they don't have gap integrity. They got to be in a position to make the tackles, miss the disappointing plays, didn't tackle well and late in the game. It's just something that's disconcerting. But all that having said, it was a mess, a hot mess, but they won the game. What do you need to see out of the defense?
So, Mitchell is somebody that I've been pretty hard on this season, I would say. I don't think he's been particularly great, but hey, he came up with the interception right at the end to seal that game. So kudos to him. But I think the issue with the defense is something that I have been talking about since week 1, and that's that they're bigger, but they aren't faster. I think all of our issues kind of dial back to the defensive line. The defensive line needs to create more pressure on the quarterback. They need to get sacks. They need to get tackles for a loss more so than they are. South Carolina had like the 117th ranked offensive line. I mean, their offensive line is garbage. We did not get in the backfield enough for my liking. But when the problem is when pressure is not created and your quarterback has more time, your DBs are then forced to stick with their man, their mark, their zone so much longer, and it creates problems. You're expecting, 2 to 4 seconds. When that turns into 6-7 seconds, you are going to miss tackles. Guys are going to blow by you. Things are going to happen. So it's a trickle-down effect. I think Florida's linebackers is one of the more improved groups of the bunch. I don't feel like that really showed on Saturday, but I think they've gotten better. But this defense just has a long way to go. They know how to tackle. We've seen them do it in previous games. They didn't do it well against South Carolina, but I do think they know. I think a lot of it boils back to the defensive line. And the good news for that is there's some help in this next class on the way. These guys that are currently playing are young. So we will see major improvement down the road. But
not in time for Georgia. Speaking of which, the news that Brock Bowers is not going to play. Make of it what you will. People, don't worry, they'll reload, whatever. Let me tell you something. This guy was the safety valve, not just a great player. They want a big play, they go to Brock Bowers, and he delivered for what he had 5 catches last year, 171 yards. He's a player, and to have a guy that you can count on the clutch is huge for a quarterback, especially a young quarterback trying to make his mark. So, how, if anything at all, how will this impact Georgia next week in the cocktail party?
Well, it'll impact Georgia a lot because Bowers is Beck's favorite target, and so that's there's going to be an adjustment. But Georgia does have incredible talent. They will have somebody that steps up and fills the spot. They'll go to other wide receivers. I don't think it means this offense won't be able to, click, but it probably won't be clicking on all cylinders. Will that help Florida? Sure, but then Florida's offense is going to need to score against Georgia's defense. They're going to have to come up with stops.
They're good on defense too, by the way.
They're a good team on defense. The thing about Georgia that I find interesting is I think last year's Georgia team would beat this year's Georgia team by something close to 17-ish points, something like that. So that doesn't mean that they're not good. That doesn't mean that they're not probably the best team in the country or one of the top 3. But I don't think that they're nearly as invincible as they were last year. That doesn't mean I think Florida's going to beat them, but I think Georgia is beatable. And I think that, there's a chance there on Saturday. But in 2 weeks, if Florida wins that game, though, it's because every single thing went right for them. They played a close to perfect game. And, it's a long shot regardless, but Bowers being out definitely helps that.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to make that prediction either. I'll be foolish. But let me just say this. You've been around football a long time. I've been around football a long time. And I've seen funny little things impact teams. Stuff happens, and call it, maybe it's small, maybe it's not. To have a guy like Brock Bowers not available could have an impact on the passing game. And then when things start happening in Florida's favor in that game, we've seen underdogs win that game before. Now, I'm not again, folks. I'm not predicting Florida's going to beat Georgia. I think Georgia won the game, but you want to see a contest. You want to see them get a couple of turnovers, at least threaten to win. Play them toe to toe for a while. And when that stuff happens, I mean, I've talked to Coach Spurrier a bunch about the year they beat Clemson. He's at Duke, which is unheard of, And that game catapulted him. He said, I wouldn't have gotten the Florida job without it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he said players in that game, even backups, played like he'd never seen them play. They had remarkable performances. What Florida needs is to have some of those remarkable individual performances, big nights, big days, big catches, big throws, big tackles, big plays. They need a bunch of big plays to be competitive.
You mentioned, the key word. You said they need to get a couple of turnovers. Florida has not done a good job forcing turnovers this season. Now, they did win the turnover battle against South Carolina. And, your buddy Urban used to always talk about if you win the turnover battle, how much your chance of winning increases. And it's a lot, right? So that is, Florida is going to have to protect the football, which is something Graham Mertz has done really, really well. He limits mistakes, which is a huge plus for a quarterback. His ceiling may not be as high as some, but his floor is a lot higher than others because he doesn't make mistakes. But they are going to have to create some mistakes for Georgia. And that is something we haven't done well so far. But you're right. We need guys to step up. I think about Boardingham, like the last 2 games, he's come out of nowhere. He has been incredible. His fourth down conversion probably is the catalyst for this win against South Carolina. That's somebody that's going to have to play well. Florida's a better team when Trey Wilson is on the field. He's going to have to play well. Pearsall's been lights out all season, but when you have other targets and he's not double teamed constantly, he's able to make some really great plays too. So those guys all have to step up, but the offensive line needs to give Mertz time.
Really needs to play better. Better.
And then if the defensive line could just find that next gear.
Make it stop once in a while,
Yeah. But I mean, this is a rivalry game, right? This is, you talk about momentum. Momentum in Jacksonville is so important because when you are down, your half the stadium is pretty quiet. It's not like a home game. Like if we went between the hedges and it's 90% Georgia fans, that's going to affect Florida so much more than only being 50% Georgia fans. And you can take those fans out if you were to start fast at like they did at the very beginning of the South Carolina game. So there's opportunities here. I'm not prepared to go as far as to say Florida's going to win it, but this is a game that Florida has an opportunity to win. I think it looks different today than it looked 2 or 3 weeks ago when we talk about it.
It's exactly what I wrote about. In the end, you look back at this will be an opportunity for Florida. What they do with it, who knows? It is a huge opportunity. And by the way, the special team plays a little better. And Trey Smack, what a weapon he's become. I mean, that kick should never been blocked. The whole side of the line missed their assignments. But to have a guy like that who's you drive down the field, you can't score, and you knock it in from 48, 50 yards, that's a big weapon right there, doesn't it? I mean, it makes a big difference.
On social media this weekend, one of the discussions was, do we think that Trey Smack being essentially almost automatic from 60 yards in has changed Billy Napier's play calling at all? And, my response to that is, if it has, then the person who had Trey Smack on the bench should be in even more trouble.
Well, that's a great story because you told me about it, and you should repeat that. Well, you and Eric knew about that, and you talked about how he was kicking the ball low the whole time.
Yeah. Mahalik has, if you watch all of his misses, they're all mechanically, he's doing the same thing every single time. Every kick is really low, which means even if he makes them, the odds of them being blocked are so incredibly high. So it makes me wonder who was evaluating them at practice. And let's say Trey Smack's missing them in practice. I don't know that to be the case, but let's say it is. So Mahalik's making his and Smack is missing his. And so that's why they went with Mahalik. If you knew about kicking, really in depth, you would watch the mechanics of both of them and you would say, all right, well, that guy is missing them, but he has great mechanics. That guy's making them, but they're really low. And that means there's a great chance for them to be blocked, which is going to, at best, result in no points. At worst, result in it being returned. So I'm just flabbergasted that Trey Smack was on the bench. And Trey Smack, we've been aware of for a couple of years. Eric was called by Moulton and asked to come to Gainesville to meet him on his recruiting trip. We drove up there. They had like a former player kind of like gathering thing. They wanted him bad there because he was one of the best high school kickers in the country. So knowing you have one of the best high school kickers in the country on your roster and knowing this stuff about mechanics makes it just really a confusing decision that he was ever on the bench to begin with. But props to Napier for at least making the switch, and being willing to try something else. Clearly it works, but I do think it allows him to call a little bit of a different game, because if you can just get to just over midfield, you're going to get 3 points. And that's going to be a pretty nice feeling for him.
When you get that sack and you got 2nd and 15, you don't have to get it all, just some of it. And even on 3rd down, you can run the ball if you have to. If you got the ball placed to 40, 35,
makes a little more sense.
Changes everything about your midfield offense, because you can do things you couldn't do before, and you get the 3. Chances are, if you got it within 50 yards, you're going to get a 3 out of it. Yep. And nothing wrong with 4 or 5 field goals to go with 3 or 4 touchdowns. It's a good thing. So, all right. So who would you like to see step up and become the next player? We've seen, like you mentioned, Boardingham. What player would you like to see break out next? Do you think might break out? We'll be talking about him after Georgia. Say, man, that guy is a great addition to the team. Who would you like to see?
I would love to see Shamar James have the game that we know he's capable of. He's shown flashes of being really good. We saw flashes of it last season too, but I'm ready for him to put together a really consistent and solid game. I think he can be kind of the quarterback of the defense. It's something they really need, right? We need to see somebody on defense step up and really be a leader. I think that can be him. I want to see Cam Jackson even more involved. I want to see him on top of the quarterback a couple of times on Saturday. Those things happen. The defense comes up with a couple stops, and this is an interesting ball game.
I want to see Aiden Mizell step up there. Another one that's fresh, and Andy Jean. If those two guys get in the mix now, look what they got. They got Boardingham now in the middle. They've got Trey on one side and down the field, and you can run a swing pass. You've got, of course, that means you've got probably going to have Pearsall open somewhere. One more guy would really make a difference if you can get a guy like that going. Now, who are you going to guard? Someone's got to, you can't double everybody, right?
Well, not only that, but then they respect the ability to pass, and it makes it harder to defend the run as well. At the beginning of the season, I think our running game got stopped because then nobody trusted that we were actually going to throw the ball, certainly not to anybody not named Pearsall. So it makes it easier to defend. It shrinks the field. But when you know that there are 3, 4, 5 real viable targets on the field, you can't double team Pearsall as much, and you can't focus in on only stopping the run game, because we actually may pass the ball.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, Shane Matthews thinks that Florida is a passing team.
Thanks to Allie Peak for Yeah, and we bring in the one and only Mr. David Molton. Hello, sir. Welcome to the program. Oh, you're muted, David. Oh, wait, no, I muted you. Hold on, David. It's my fault. Yeah, there you go. All right. Hey, David. Okay, let's try it again. How are you, David?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Sorry we went long tonight. We had Edgar on earlier, and he went long, and we had Allie's interview. So got you. Good to have you, and good week to talk about it. And you'll be gone next week, so give us all your Georgia stuff right now.
Well, first, I don't want to jump ahead to Georgia because of the significance of the South Carolina win.
Yes, it was. Yes,
and also the way that they won. It's what the team needed. It's what the fan base needed to see. Listen. I didn't think Mertz was going to be that good. I was dead wrong. Mertz has been one of the 4 best quarterbacks in the SEC this year, and that list may even get shorter before the year is out. He never played like this at Wisconsin, so he and the coaching staff deserve a hell of a job for how he has performed. And certainly he's gutsy, and he showed that he's clutch. And a couple of receivers did as well. And it was nice that the head coach got aggressive finally, calling plays. And they needed to be, obviously, because what Rattler and company did to the defense. So, it was a terrific win. Is this a top 10 team? No. Is it a top 15 team? No. But you know what? Without Brock Bowers, they got a shot.
Never know. You're right.
Okay.
Never
They
know.
got Georgia. That was the special player on their offense, although the quarterback is good. All right.
But
and
now
he's
without
getting
Bowers,
better.
because he's Bowers, but Bowers is his bailout guy.
There's no doubt, but he's a good player.
He is.
He is. But that was one of the 4 best players in college football. I mean, quit Brock Bowers. I mean, he was going to be a Heisman finalist. He wasn't going to win, but he was going to go to New York if he stayed healthy. And that's a huge loss. That's the number 1 weapon in the Georgia offense. Don't know if there's anybody else on the field that Florida has to double team. This allows them now to really go after the quarterback if they have to. So, they've got a puncher's chance in this game with all the pressure on Georgia. Oh, by the way.
Yes. And I hate to keep reverting back to Steve Spurrier, but he used this illustration a number of times. Again, I want to talk to him today that when you got a puncher's chance, like you mentioned, like when he played Clemson, when he was at Duke his last year, they had no business. They were like 1-2, beating Clemson that year. And he says unequivocally that by beating Clemson, that got him the Florida job. And things began to happen magically to that team. Guys who were backups started playing like all ACC players in that game. They just played out of their gourd. A guy like Mertz can inspire better play. We know Georgia's got better players, obviously. But I love the leadership he showed, the toughness, the willingness to go in and stick his head in there, to battle, to not give up. Because I thought it was over with 10 minutes, David, and probably most people did. I can't tell you how impressed I was. I got it wrong. And by the way, you aren't the only person who didn't think Mertz was the guy. Almost everybody thought he wasn't the guy. The one guy being Shane Matthews. He liked him.
Well, but even Spurrier, right before the season started, he was talking up the walk-on, the guy who had no experience at all. He said, "Don't be surprised if we don't see him get in and get some action early." So Mertz is overachieved, and he was a great find, and it's a credit to Napier. I mean, the 2 stars of the game are both Napier finds in the transfer portal.
Yeah, very nice.
And so even though he hasn't hit the portal the way some other coaches have, I mean, obviously the guys he's brought in, Napier does seem to be a good evaluator of talent. Okay. Yeah. Let's see how much of it he can procure. Okay. It looks as if the next high school class was going to be really good. So once again, this is the type of win that does what, buddy? It gives him time, and it gives this team. I mean, listen, as far-fetched as it is, Florida goes, well, hell, if we beat Georgia, we're in first place.
Right, and you got the recruiting card you can play now. That resonated with a lot of people. So the way they won the game, David, we said all week long, the fashion they won it, they were prepared this time. They went out, they played well.
And they started early, which was, I think, really important in this game on the road, something that they've not been able to do. And I think that makes a difference. It keeps you in the ball game when you score early and you don't go 3 and out. I felt like that was why, they had a shot at the end for Mertz and company to come back and win the ball game.
And it's the crazy SEC right now, David. Are you buying Jimbo Fisher anymore? I'm not. I'm done with Jimbo Fisher. And just stop.
Buddy, you were never on Jimbo Fisher. I mean, I remember. I don't know if a coach has ever won a national championship that you've dogged more than Jimbo Fisher. And I will say the way
FSU, I liked him at FSU. I did.
Well, but the way he left FSU, he deserves to be dogged. It's funny. I actually think Jimbo can't keep a quarterback healthy. This is 4 years in a row that Jimbo's quarterback has gotten hurt. Yeah. And there's no denying that, that's tough to overcome. He's also in the transfer portal. He's lost guys, and then his quarterback gets hurt. So next thing you know, he's down to his fourth string compared to what he had 6 months ago. But, Jimbo could use a break. Jimbo could use like the deflection that the Gators got on the winning drive. Jimbo needs a break, and I don't know if he's going to get it.
Do you ever feel like Jimbo was just at the wrong school?
No.
Because it's just
he got all resources. He got the resources.
Such a different kind of play.
He can't win at A&M. He can't win anywhere. They got all kind of resources there.
I'm not saying about resources, but I just think it's a different place.
He said 2 years ago he might have the greatest recruiting class in the history of college football.
No, I'm not saying it's not. I was just throwing out the question because I was on a show a couple of weeks ago. We had one of the reporters there from A&M, and he got very sort of visibly upset when he was sort of talking about the culture there.
Well, Brendan, listen, to show you how important a quarterback is would also be how well Mertz has played. I mean, I would argue if Florida's quarterback was on A&M the last 2 weeks, they would have won both games. I was at both games. Those were one. If a quarterback for A&M had made one, maybe two plays, they win both those games. And then what will we be saying about Texas A&M? So, he can't get it right, or he can't get it healthy at the quarterback position. And all the other recruiting he's doing doesn't matter.
But wait, he had a great play caller. He hired a great play caller. Oops, wait a minute. What happened there?
But, buddy, I will say they called some great plays this past Saturday.
Okay.
They did.
Not enough. Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
I mean, they don't have anyone special on offense, and if that person is there, the quarterback can't get it to them.
All right, David.
Think about this. They've lost back-to-back games to teams who have committed 14 and 12 penalties, and they lost those two games. They didn't score 20 points in either. Well, no, they kicked a last-second field goal against Bama to get to 20, and then they scored 13 against Tennessee. I mean, in this day and age, that ain't going to get it done.
Speaking of not getting it done, David and Brendan, are you a little bit tired of this preseason hype on guys like Shane Beamer being a great coach, Mark Stoops being a world-class coach and win the SEC? Every year I hear this. Props to Drinkwitz. Look at him. He's 6-1. But, I mean, they try to sell us this bill of goods every year about how good these teams are. Guess what? And Florida is not Kentucky, despite what people say. Florida's not Vanderbilt. I didn't see 3 national championship trophies in Vanderbilt's trophy case when I was in Nashville. I get a little tired of people trying to pitch these other coaches to us. Shane Beamer acts like he's 18. Not only did he do a stupid thing, he first of all criticized his team, and then he kicked something and broke his foot. He's going to act like a grown man. So for all the things, oh, he's a great special teams coach. No, he's not. Let's just say he's an average at best coach. Billy Napier is certainly at least average, or if not better. So let's just tell it like it is. Every year, the networks, particularly ESPN, try to sell us a bill of goods on those 3 teams. Watch out for what's going to happen there. Guess what? It ain't happening.
Well, buddy, it's real easy for you to say that in the middle of October in 2023.
Said it before.
Right, exactly.
Listen, buddy, he inherited a grease fire and went to a bowl his first year. And last year, he won 8 games and beat Tennessee and Clemson, who were both headed to the playoff until South Carolina took him out.
Beamer?
Yeah. So, I mean, the guy has done some good coaching.
You want Beamer over Billy right now?
Now see, once again, you just take the argument. No, but buddy, you were trying to say Shane Beamer's trash. Okay,
I didn't say he was trash. I said he's not a great coach.
Yeah, okay? No, but he's a pretty good coach.
Well, pretty good is not even good. So my point is, he's an up and coming coach.
Yeah,
he's not ready yet.
Okay.
He's not ready to compete at the next level. He's just not.
Okay, is the Florida coach?
Well, I'd say he's more ready than Beamer is.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
My opinion.
Interesting.
Really?
Do you think Vanderbilt is Florida? I mean, that's what I've been told. Well, Vanderbilt's a better team. They're better. They're not.
Buddy,
they're still Vanderbilt.
Buddy, when Billy Napier beats 2 top 5 teams in 3 weeks, call me. Because that's what Shane Beamer did last year.
Let me just say this. Let me take Billy out of the equation. Don't even bring him into it. Now assess those coaches I told you about. Is Mark Stoops Nick Saban? I don't think so.
Who the hell ever said Mark Stoops
I'm
was
just
Steve Saban?
saying that I've been hearing every year. Even
Oh,
my friend
buddy,
Chris,
buddy,
hey,
I
listen,
don't,
I do a
buddy,
show
I
with
don't
Chris
even,
Story.
who
I do
cares,
a
by the
show.
way?
Well,
Why do you care
because
about this stuff? Who cares what they're
because I
saying?
think it's
You
a
do a
false
Gator
narrative.
show. Who
It's a
cares
false
what they say about
narrative.
Shane Beamer
Well,
and
I
Mark
do.
Stoops?
Because they played Shane Beamer last week, and I have my opinions just like you do. I'm tired of getting people call me a sunshine pumper. I'm tired of people pumping sunshine on teams that don't get it done. So there you go.
But we all know it's just because they need something to talk about, and at the end of the day, it's nice to have something to chew on. I think, and that's really what this is all about. It's driven by producers and everything else. I think I just don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. So I guess it doesn't upset me like it sort of upsets you, buddy.
I mean, South Carolina the last 2 years had better seasons than Florida.
Good. Go Gamecocks.
All right. David, I want to switch a little bit because I was, there's been so much talk about Graham Mertz and the win. And I think, a lot of things that were sort of missed was that the defense wasn't definitely on as well as we've seen them play. They've got, put up a lot of points put up on the board. And so my question to you is that when you go up against, a really great defense and you're, and this team, say for Georgia or whatever, is this the difference maker, or we're going to see where the elite teams are going to pull apart from Florida, or do you think Florida was just playing a decent offense?
The one thing that would concern me if I'm a Gator fan is that the last 2 times their defense has gone on the road, they haven't played well. And so they got to figure that out, obviously. Now, Jacksonville's not going to be a road game, but, that going forward with who they also have on the schedule, that it's like, listen, I need the defense to perform the way they were the first month of the season. The last 2 times on the road, they haven't. We'll say, though, Rattler's going to play on Sundays. I'm not saying he's a franchise quarterback, but, they did face an NFL quarterback. And, that ain't easy. They're still young on that side of the ball. And, I think they learned a few things, quite frankly. They haven't faced a passing attack in a while, maybe all year, because Joe Milton, you want to get on somebody who was tremendously overhyped.
You're right.
And you and I both
and I liked him. I liked him too. I gotta say,
I did. And I didn't, because he was inconsistent everywhere else he had been. And sure enough, I mean, he has not been good for Tennessee at all. At all. I mean, quite frankly, once again, another team. If Florida's quarterback was at Tennessee, they might win the East.
The great play caller, and he is a great play caller, I think. It's getting criticized now, according to what I was told by a couple of coaches, is that his playbook is too simple and easy to defend against. He only has 6 plays. He only has 6 plays.
Listen, Lombardi had 6 plays too. I mean,
had all the players though too.
Well, but I'm just saying that, having seen Tennessee a couple times this year, I don't think play calling's the problem. The offensive line, especially their back, like they have no depth on the offensive line. And you guys saw that firsthand when they had to play 2, much like when you had to play a couple of backups at Utah. What happened? Well, they had to play a couple backups against Florida, and Florida's starters kicked their butt. Okay. And that's a clear difference this year to last year. Besides the fact that Milton's not in the area code of Hendon Hooker, their offensive line's not as good, and their depth on the offensive line this year is non-existent.
Hooker was a great player.
He's a terrific college quarterback.
Yeah. So where do we go now, David? It's Georgia and then whoever else, and you got to count Saban back in the game now. He's certainly in the hunt. It's going to be a big weekend against Tennessee. I think they'll beat Tennessee.
Buddy, don't you think we have a lot of interesting games here? I mean, let's just
stick
with Georgia.
Yeah.
Let's just stick with Georgia.
Okay.
Without Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
They got to get by Florida.
Right.
Then, quite frankly, don't laugh. They got to get by Missouri.
6-1.
Don't laugh.
6-1.
And they got a quarterback. They can score some points. I think they'll even move the ball and score a few points against Georgia. So, once again, this will put probably a little pressure on Georgia. Then they got to beat Lane and Ole Miss. All right. And then they got to go to Tennessee. I mean, I don't know if Georgia gets to Atlanta with a donut. Not without Brock Bowers.
Wow. Well, that's quite a statement. Have you taken a look at Missouri? They got a couple of quality wins, K-State being one, but they got some games left to play.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt they do.
I give them all the credit in the world. I mean, they're way ahead of what we thought they'd be. And they're going to be tough for Florida. Their quarterback's Cook's playing really good right now.
Yep.
That's going to be a tough game for Florida and Missouri. So, but I just don't know. Do you think they're there, David? Missouri?
Well, are they there in terms of winning the East?
Are they going to be competitive in terms of, or finishing second?
Well, they beat Kentucky and they've got Florida at home. So, I think they're going to get beat by Georgia by a couple scores, but I think Missouri can finish second in the East.
Okay. That means they beat Florida.
Well, that game, I mean, right now, if that game was played, don't you think Missouri would be about a 3-point favorite?
On their field, yes. I do think that.
So, obviously that's going to be a tough game.
Yeah. Not one we figured would be a tough game. I thought that was one of the ones they might be able to win.
And that's why the South Carolina win was so important, because right, buddy.
You're right.
We took a look, once again, what does Missouri have? They have a quarterback. What does Arkansas have? They have a quarterback. There's not a lot of quarterbacks in the SEC, although the kid at Georgia's developed. The kid at Florida is developed far better. Yeah. Right. But Arkansas's got a quarterback. Missouri's got a quarterback. South Carolina has a quarterback. Those teams are dangerous.
Yeah.
So South Carolina's lost. I know Arkansas, has 0 and for whatever in the SEC, but 3 of the games are by 6 points or less.
Yeah.
Because the quarterback's good.
Do we know a time on the Arkansas game? It probably hasn't been announced yet, right?
It's a blackout game, right?
Yeah, but we don't know if it's,
I wouldn't think it'd be during the day if it's a blackout game, would it?
Well, they haven't announced it yet. I think Shane was saying that. Wouldn't that be terrible if it was a noon game, or if it was an afternoon or a 3 or 4 o'clock game?
Is that November 4th?
November 4th, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be at 3:30.
Yeah.
That's CBS's primetime game. They've got LSU Alabama at 8 o'clock. So if I had to guess right now, I would guess the game would be a noon game. I don't know if they can put that game at night.
That's what I thought, because it has no ratings. So now you got a whole blackout game in Florida with everyone wearing black at noon. That might be a little bit of a uncomfortable crowd. That's for sure. I know it's exciting.
I mean, it might be a 4 o'clock SEC network special. I mean, it could be a mid-afternoon game.
Yeah, they've got to have something. But
let's take a look at the Missouri schedule, okay, real quick. The rest of the way, they did. They played LSU really well. They beat Kentucky, South Carolina. Probably ought to be a W. The game's at Missouri, Georgia. That's a loss. Tennessee at Missouri. Did they beat Tennessee? I don't think so. Florida at Missouri. Well, that's a toss-up. And finally, Arkansas. So they could conceivably win 3 of those games, probably, right? Which would make them a 9-game winner. So if they beat South Carolina, they beat Florida, and beat Arkansas. That's 3 wins. That's 9-game wins. That's a hell of a record for them in Missouri, I think.
Well, and listen, they can beat Tennessee. Tennessee's excellent defensively. They are. I got to admit, on paper, this Tennessee-Alabama game is a lot closer than the point spread.
Really?
Yeah. Tennessee defensively, buddy's very good. I mean, they've gotten 4 sacks or more in 4 straight games. The defense is legit. I mean, this is not a fluke. They are legit up front, and they don't have to send a bunch of people after the quarterback like they had to last year. They can rush 4 and get to the passer, and when you can do that, you can play defense in the SEC. But Joe Milton is not good.
I agree. I'm at this point. I thought he was going better than what he was. Final thoughts, David, as we lead in and get into. We'll get you next week, so you'll be out and about as we approach this game. You said there's a puncher's chance.
I do.
You think it's a 10-point game, 7-point game? What?
Well, I mean, Georgia's definitely favored, but listen, maybe I'm just overstating the Brock Bowers injury, but I don't think
so.
I don't think you are.
Deal.
I think it's a huge deal.
I think it's a huge deal. I think now that gives Florida many more options defensively. You know, the tailback is good, but he's undersized. You know, they don't have a Pickens at wide receiver. They don't. I mean, this team, I don't want to say they're in transition, but they don't have the talent they've had the last 2 years. They don't. The quarterback's good. He is. He's a good player. But now, you know, the Gators defense can go after him. They'll have 2 weeks to prepare.
Yep.
You know, Georgia defensively, they don't have, pardon the pun, the dogs that they had the last 2 years. I mean, they don't. I mean, they had guys the last 2 years that were flat unblockable, and not just by Florida. They were flat unblockable the last 2 years by anybody. They don't have that this year. They got a bunch of good players, but they don't have a lot of grade on that team. They don't.
Well, we're worried about Florida's offensive line there, so we'll see how it turns. Got to get a turnover or two. David, great stuff, man. Tell folks where they can get you and Miller in the morning.
FloridaSportsNetwork.com. It's a 4-hour local show, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern. And man, we're hoping to be in Gainesville. I thought it was a done deal a month ago.
Who do I got to go strong arm up there for you, David?
Yeah, I don't think you can strong arm the University of Florida at the end.
Oh, you don't think so, pal?
You don't think so? Oh, we've done it. We got some street cred up there. With
if you guys think you can, knock yourselves out.
No, I really wish you the best because we really need to have your show here. It's always good.
We sure do.
I try to catch it in the morning.
Where are you going this week?
Going to Tennessee, Bama, and then Monday Night Football's Niners, Vikings.
Oh, nice.
He doesn't just do one game, Brendan. He does several. He may drop in on a golf tournament along the way. You never know about David.
He's the world's most interesting
bon vivant that he is, traveling about.
Definitely
David,
not.
great stuff, buddy. Thanks for being on the program. Have a good week off. We'll catch you on the other side.
All right. Yeah, and it's for medical reasons next week. I'm not just ditching you to ditch you.
Listen,
it's a legit reason. So
we just say you're on assignment. That's all we say.
Well, wish I was. So be good, guys, and take care of your audience.
Good luck to you, David. Be in touch.
David
Thanks
Molton.
very much.
Yeah, Moulton
great,
and
David
Moulton
Molton. Thank
Moulton,
you.
yeah.
All right, Brendan, can we do our first our Meldon Law and come back and finish up with Renstar?
Yeah, we'll be right back after the short message from Meldon Laws. Hang with us.
Meldon, Jeffrey, you do a show where you ask a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV. But after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon, and that's good to know because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, like me. And maybe you can coach us through. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. They will take your questions about your case if you have a question.
Yes, whether it's a new case or an existing case, give us a call. We'd be glad to go over it with you. There's no charge to review your case with you. And a lot of times it makes good sense just to get a second opinion.
Good stuff from Meldon Law. They don't back down, but they will give you a second opinion.
And I won't back down. I feel that's solid.
That's a young boy. Muted. That's a young kid growing up, running up and down the bed, jumping and saying, "Go Gators, not you, Georgia," many years ago.
No, I said it a little better than that. I said it more like,
want to say it?
"Go Gators, not you, Georgia."
Yeah, I don't think when you're 2 years old you were that loud, but you did say it.
I was actually louder than that. I think I was a little bit.
So how do you feel about this week?
About this week, bye
Coming
week.
up.
I love
Coming up.
it.
No. Next week, I'm talking about it.
I just think that, I think it was a great win in South Carolina, but I think Georgia's a buzzsaw. And I just
You're not a believer, Brendan. You're not a believer.
I'm just not
Okay.
there. It's not that I don't
right.
think that I think
right.
that they maybe could hang. I just don't think that they have the depth at position. I think that their defense can be nasty. I think Florida's defense has got a lot of issues right now. I just feel like it's a young team. I think, playing up there in Jacksonville is not like playing at home. Although it is full of Gator fans, I just don't see them knocking off Georgia this year. Now, do I feel like they could beat Missouri? Yeah, I think they could win that Missouri game. Do I feel like they can beat LSU? Yeah, I think they can beat LSU. Do I feel like they could play now, especially at home against Florida State, and play, a pretty good game? Yeah, I think they've got a shot there, but I just don't see them beating Georgia this year.
Brendan, I'll say to you what I used to say to my old partner in Denver. Oh, ye of little faith. Okay.
It's not a faith thing.
Oh yeah, it is.
Why is it a faith thing?
You're down. You're down. We got you down.
You used to be like a journalist guy, and now you're just sunshine. I guess I'm going to get you a tattoo. It says Sunshine Pumper.
That's fine. Give me whatever you want. People don't
Sunshine Pumper.
I'm just
Rainbow
saying.
Eater.
I'm crying to me when they win.
Why would I come crying? Look, I always want the Gators to win.
Yeah,
I always want Gators to win. I'm always going to pull for them, regardless of my pick.
No room for you on the train, buddy. If you
really, you think they're going to run the table?
Didn't say that, did I?
Well, okay. So if you think they're going to beat Georgia, then you think definitely going to beat everybody else.
You believe in the possibilities.
Of course, I believe in the possibilities, but you're asking me where's my money going?
You just told me all just now you didn't think you had a shot. So anyway.
Yeah, because I think you're asking my opinion. If I'm betting and gambling on this game, or if I'm picking somebody, I'm going to pick what seems to be like. I'm not going to walk out there and bet with my heart. I think Georgia's the better team. I don't think you can equate a win in South Carolina against a very good South Carolina team.
You're not following the right team, but anyway, that's okay.
I know. No, you want me to have the faith and all that stuff.
I think believe in something at some time.
Why does it have to be Florida, Georgia?
Well, I'll tell you what I believe in right now. Renstar Medical Research.
That makes no sense.
I believe in Renstar Medical Research because they've been believing in us for a long time, sponsoring our show here and on radio for 6 or 7 years. Appreciate their loyalty. Loyalty is a great thing. And they, of course, are well known for being a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility right there in downtown Ocala, a great stakeholder in our city. They have cutting-edge clinical research trials in areas like fibromyalgia, migraines, psoriasis, Alzheimer's, dementia, and many things that affect us right here in our community. You can go and take part in some of their clinical trials by going to renstar.net and see if you qualify. They participated in more than 700 of these clinical trials since 1998.
700.
Continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. Check them out, renstar.net. Renstar Medical
Research.
Seeking the
answers to the health questions of today. Just say it.
Good synchronization there. All right, good show tonight.
Why do you delay when wait for me? I'm following you. That's what's
thank you very much to our guests tonight. We heard David Molton, we had Allie Peak, and of course Edgar Thompson. Appreciate that. Back tomorrow night with our group from the Orange and Blue Bloods. Ben Troop and the guys, and join us there. Meanwhile, don't forget to smash
the subscribe button, and you're forgetting something. You're still forgetting something.
GatorBaitMedia.com. Check us out.
That's right. Subscribe to GatorBaitMedia.com. We are still running a special. I don't know if I have this. Oh, yeah, we do. I'm still running the special right here, right now. 20% off.
People still signing up. People really sign up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're getting you read Franz Beard, Lauren Meadows, Kyle Curtis, Matt Cortararo, Buddy Martin. We got guest writers, and Chris Spears' photography with galleries.
Sometimes Brendan Martin even writes an article every now and then.
Sometimes I write an article. Mostly we post videos. I know, on this show I am not Buddy, but over there,
thank goodness.
Over there, I'm actually the president of the company. So at GatorBaitMedia.com, we are striving to be better and to be correct. We actually do journalism. Buddy has taught a lot of young journalists through there, and we very much so care about not being first, but being correct. So check us out, because if you ain't a Gator, buddy, you must be. You must be.
Renstar.
Come on.
Renstar. Oh, no.
You must be.
GatorBait.
There it is.
There you go.
Check it out there. We got a store open over there right now. So you like GatorBait hats and GatorBait
I saw some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
Well, look, you got to pay. It's right. But right now, the thing about paying is you get 20% off. $79.20. Click on it down here in the chat, whatever. Enjoy GatorBait. And that's a wonderful way to support this program and what we're doing.
And a great time. Great time right now to be a Gator and enjoy while you have success. It's nice to have it to breathe a little bit. Brendan, great job tonight. Love you. Talk to you tomorrow night.
All right. We will talk to you tomorrow night. And as always, thanks for watching our show. And I know Buddy does. I don't keep the faith. But I'll tell you, every show I say the same thing. Remember, go Gators.